Schools are supposed to be places of learning, safety, and growth, but sometimes they become the setting for something far more sinister. Abandoned hallways, flickering lights, and the lingering presence of something unnatural. Tonight we bring you 3 terrifying true stories of school horror. Stories that will make you think twice before walking those empty corridors alone. Our first story comes from a high school in rural Pennsylvania, a place where students swear they've heard whispers from a locker that should be empty. I was a sophomore when it happened. I stayed late after school for drama club, and by the time we finished, the halls were empty. That's when I heard it. A faint whispering coming from locker 317. The student, who we'll call Jake, approached the locker. The whispers grew louder, indistinct, frantic muttering. When he pressed his ear against the cold metal, the voice suddenly became clear. "Let me out." Jake stumbled back as the locker door shook violently. He ran, but not before hearing one last whisper. "I'm still here." The next day, Jake learned the horrifying truth. 30 years ago, a student had been accidentally locked inside that very locker during summer break. By the time anyone found him, it was too late. Our next story takes place in a small-town middle school, a place where one substitute teacher was not what they seemed. I was in 7th grade when we got a new sub, Mr. Valesky. He was pale, always wore sunglasses, and spoke in a slow, raspy voice. But the weirdest thing, he never took attendance. The students noticed other strange things. Mr. Valesky would stare at the back of the room for hours, mumbling to himself, and sometimes his shadow didn't move like a normal person's. One day a student dropped their pencil. When they looked under the desk, they saw Mr. Valesky's face staring back at them. Only, he wasn't sitting in his chair anymore. The school investigated, but Mr. Valesky was gone. No records of him existed. The only trace, a single note left on his desk: "I was never here." Our final story is the most disturbing. It comes from a group of teenagers who broke into their old elementary school and played a game they shouldn't have. We heard the rumors. If you went to the basement at midnight and said, "Red school, red door" 3 times, something would answer. They filmed their exploration. At first it was just an eerie basement, but then they heard it. Red school. Red door. The voice wasn't one of them. And then, the door they came through vanished. The video cuts to static. The teens were found 3 days later, wandering the streets covered in scratches. None of them remembered what happened. Except one. It wanted us to stay. Forever. Schools hold more than just memories. Sometimes they hold something else. So the next time you're alone in an empty hallway, or hear a whisper where there shouldn't be one, remember these stories, and whatever you do, don't look back.